Hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Anderson, and this is How to Mind Your Mind in the Midst of Crisis. This is number 10 in my series of giving you different techniques, attitudes, and guidelines for effectively surviving and even possibly thriving in the midst of this really disturbing and difficult COVID event. So today's conversation is called How to Mind Your Mind in Crisis, meaning how to manage your thoughts and how to take care of yourself mentally, which is crucial in the midst of a crisis. But the good news is, if you learn how to do this even a little bit in the midst of crisis, you will be much better in minding your mind when the crisis has passed and you go back to your normal sources of stress, which will still be there. Don't worry, they will be there. Now, I want to tell you a story, of course, and then I want to go into how to actually do this thing called minding the mind or managing it. So, this story is about a samurai in Japan somewhere between 1168 and 1868. Now, that's the time, about 500-600 years, that samurai were really in power in Japan. And a samurai who carried a sword, a big, wonderful samurai sword, had the power of life and death over other people. And you did not want to insult a samurai. You did not want to do that, because he just might whip out a sword, cut off your head, and then that was a bad day for you. So, here was a samurai. This is an old Zen story. I didn't invent this one, I'm just telling it to you. An old Zen story about a samurai, well-known, powerful samurai, who goes to a Zen master and says to the Zen master, "I want to know about heaven and hell." Now, it's a dangerous thing to go to a Zen master and ask that kind of question. And it is also dangerous to give a reply to a samurai. Now, we got two very dangerous men here on different levels. I would say overall the Zen master is way more dangerous, but you'll decide for yourself. So the samurai goes to the Zen master and he says, "Master, I want you to teach me about heaven and hell." Without missing a beat, the Zen master begins to insult the samurai. He says, "You are a bad swordsman. You have no honor. You are lower than a cricket or a snake on the ground." He starts talking to him in all kind of nasty language. And the samurai he's shocked. Nobody ever talks to him that way. And then he gets insulted. And then his honor gets insulted. And he goes for his sword and he begins to pull it out. He's going to cut the head off the Zen master. But just as he's pulling it out, the Zen master says, "There opens the gate to hell." Samurai has a moment of insight. He realizes what's happened. And so he puts the sword back in its scabbard. And as soon as he does that, the Zen master says, "And there opens the gate to heaven." Now, I don't know if the samurai was enlightened on that day, but he certainly learned something about heaven and hell, and not in the afterlife where he imagined it might be. Now, what does this have to do with minding your mind? He was out of control of his mind when he got insulted. And the Zen master said things to him that he thought were insults. What he did with those comments caused him to have an emotional reaction. Now, most of us, most of the time, are like the samurai, except we don't know that we're being taught a lesson. And so life itself presents itself to us. Maybe sometimes it's affirming, gives us information for our mind that's positive, and we think, oh, I'm so happy, I'm fine. Then life, someone else, whatever, gives us negative information, and we just go into some kind of negative thinking and then negative feelings. Now, something really, really important I want you to remember from this, besides the story's fun, but I want you to remember this next 3 words. Just 3 words. They all start with an F, and they're all okay. The 3 words are from probably one of the best, maybe the best life coach there ever was, Tony Robbins. He has these wonderful sayings that he says periodically, and this is one of them because it's so effective. He says, feelings follow focus. 3 words, feelings follow focus. Meaning, our emotions come after and go in the direction that our minds, what we're focused on, is saying to us. Feelings follow focus. So, a big exercise in managing your mind, in minding your mind. If you want to stay more peaceful, you have to think peaceful thoughts. Let me give you an example. Imagine this. Now, imagination is creative thought. That's all it is. Everybody has it. You use it every single day in all kinds of circumstances without even being aware of it. But I want you to do it specifically right now. I want you to imagine that you're out on the ocean in a small boat by yourself. The wind comes up and the waves start bouncing you up and down and throwing the boat back and forth, and you start to think, I'm gonna flip over. I'm gonna flip over. Boing, 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 boing. Just notice, you have that thought. How are you feeling? Even for a moment, how do you feel when you think the boat is going to turn over in the midst of the ocean? Then I want you to imagine that you jump into the water, and I want you to imagine that you can actually breathe underwater. There's 2 imaginations I'm asking you to do. Imagine you can breathe underwater. You jump in the water. The ocean is crazy on the top. As soon as you go 5 or 6 feet down, it's totally peaceful, totally quiet. You become weightless. Just like the fish, you are just moving peacefully, calmly through the water. And remember, you can breathe. Imagination, you can do anything. So you're breathing calmly, peacefully. You're floating, weightless in the water. You can go down, you can go up. You can see all kinds of sights underneath the water, and everything is calm. How do you feel now? Now go back up in the boat for one moment and imagine the boat bouncing around. You see how you feel when you think like that? You visualize that? Now go back into the water. You can breathe underwater. You're weightless. You're peaceful. You just had a modern day version of what the Zen master did with the samurai, except it wasn't as dramatic. Feelings follow focus. So if you want to manage your mind in a crisis, now let's drop back for a moment. Our minds have nuclear energy. Nuclear. Super powerful energy. And if we don't mind or manage that energy, it can take us into some pretty dark places. Pretty dark. If we learn how to manage it, it can have a powerful effect in us getting through the day and staying centered and calm and grounded and effective. Maybe even sometimes a little happy. Now, how do you do that? First, you say to yourself, I want to learn how to mind my mind. We don't accomplish anything, any goal, unless we describe the goal, unless we can see the goal, unless we can commit to the goal. So I'm asking you today, take a big step today in minding your mind. in managing how you think. It's going to have a very, very powerful effect on you. So here's some suggestions that really work. One is, and I know this next one's all over the internet these days, and the reason it is all over the internet is because it is so incredibly powerful. It's very simple. Make a list of things you feel grateful for. Now, you could bring up in your mind right now, because you know you have an imagination and you can think, and I want you to think about who you feel grateful for. I'm just wondering if that should be whom. For whom you feel grateful, and for what you feel grateful. You might say, well, I feel grateful for a wonderful teacher, or my wife, or my husband, or my children, or my parents, or co-workers, or I might feel grateful for a comedian I saw on TV the other night that made me laugh. I don't care who it is. Bring to mind right now someone for whom you feel grateful. Notice it. Pay attention. Allow yourself to think about what you're grateful for about that person, and then your feelings will follow. Feelings follow focus. Okay? Now, think of something you feel grateful for. I'm in Florida. I feel really grateful for air conditioning. I feel really grateful that I could ride to work this morning in my Mini Cooper convertible with the top down, and the sky was blue and these wispy white clouds, and the air was 78 degrees, and it was absolutely a beautiful 20-minute experience for me. Of course, I did not turn on the radio, because I know feelings follow focus. If I turn on the news for 20 minutes, I'm going to be a nut job by the time I get to work, and so will you. So stay away from the news. Oh, great idea. Now you won't be thinking all those nasty, upsetting, frightful thoughts quite as much. Go on the news maybe 15 minutes a day. That's all you need. Wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance. You're going in the right direction and you'll get through it. So your mind and where you focus it is going to make a difference. So start with being grateful. It's a powerful exercise. I saw a video on TED.com a couple of years ago, and an Israeli guy they were doing TED in Israel, and an Israeli guy said every night when he went to bed, just before he went to bed, he put his 5-year-old son to bed and said to him, let's talk about 3 things that you're happy about or grateful for during the day. He said he did it every night. God bless him. What a thing to learn from your father. Now, don't go thinking about what you didn't learn from your father right now. That's called feelings follow focus, and if your father let you down about that, now you're going to be upset. Works like that. You can tell I like this one. This is a good one. So be grateful, but name it. Make a list. You want to have a really good day? Make a list of 25 things and people you feel grateful for as soon as you finish watching this video. Okay. The second thing I'd like for you to do is to focus your mind today on anything you can notice that is beautiful. Anything that's beautiful. Now, I could talk about beauty for hours, because I really believe that one of the basic reasons that we are on this planet is to be witness to and participate in beauty. It is an incredibly beautiful planet. Beauty is everywhere. It's even if you live in the midst of a nasty city, where you walk outside and you never see a tree for days, you can find beauty there. Now, if you're in the midst of a city and you're walking around and you notice other people, you can see beauty in their faces. You can see beauty in the sky. You can see beauty in plants and flowers and animals. It's everywhere once you begin to look. Now, I want to tell you a story about that one. Feelings follow focus, and focus is really, really, really important. What you focus on is going to tell you how to feel. I was in the Everglades a few years ago. I'm very close by it. I go out there and take pictures a lot. And this day I was out in a local park. Everglades is just, I was on a little bit of a, we call it a berm. It's a little hill looking out over some grasslands and water. It was a gorgeous day. The sun was out. I was holding my camera, taking pictures of things. I noticed a couple maybe 30 feet away from me. The woman says to the man, "There's no life here." And he just kind of goes like this, and they turn and walk away, and I'm thinking, that was the strangest thing I could imagine. Because she said that on a day, the reason I was out there taking pictures was this was the day or the week of the grasshoppers. And there were literally thousands of grasshoppers, 4 or 5 inches long, bright orange and brown and black. Just incredible. Orange, yellow, brown, and black. About this big. Everywhere. Where she was standing, there must have been 1,000 within 3 feet of her. And she didn't see them. Why? Because she was focused on where are the birds. Now, I looked around, and that moment, I couldn't see any birds. Usually there are lots of birds out there, but in that moment, when that lady was looking, there were no birds. She didn't have the presence of mind to say, okay, no birds, all right, what other life is there for me to pay attention to? These grasshoppers, even if you're kind of creeped out by insects, they are absolutely amazing. And they come out once a year. They're all over the ground, all over the bushes, all over the trees. They're incredible. And they are astoundingly beautiful. She could not see them. So she was focused on, there's no birds. She was upset. She was disappointed. She voiced this to her husband, and it's probably like, okay, honey, let's go. Because he didn't see the life either. And they left, disappointed. And I'm standing there sort of in grasshopper ecstasy. It was incredible. It was beautiful. It was amazing. So you have that choice all day long to focus your mind on what you're grateful about and where beauty is in your life. And I'm telling you, once you start really looking for beauty, you're going to see it everywhere under all circumstances. Now, another thing you can do is focus on the positive. And that's related to the other two. Grateful is a form of focusing on the positive. Now, I'm not telling you to ignore the negative. If the negative is important and you need that information to take care of yourself, fine, pay attention to it. However, train your mind to think about what's positive. You see a negative, think about the positive. I know there's all kinds of really bad things going on right now. Over 80,000 people have died in this country alone due to the COVID virus. That's a lot. God bless them, all the sadness in their families and the loss of those people. Now, we've acknowledged that. Did you know that the skies and the air is incredibly clean right now because we're not going around and throwing up all that crap out of our cars into the atmosphere? And people are exercising more than they probably ever have in the history of the United States. And families are coming together in many ways. I know some of you are having a hard time with it, but many families are having experiences of being closer and more connected and more appreciative of each other and their family and their friends. We're becoming more creative in how we're dealing with it. We're reaching out to each other with more care and more sensitivity. there is positive coming. And ultimately, as we come out of this, there will be new positive things that we cannot even imagine right now. Look for them. Train your mind to look for the positive. Another thing you can do that really helps your mind is to learn how to meditate. Now, I've said that on a number of my videos, and it's so important that you learn to sit quietly, pay attention to your breath, or say a mantra, something simple that's peaceful. Close your eyes and let yourself relax for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. You can do that, and that focus will calm your feelings. And you will get through this whole experience much more effectively and productively, really productively, than you would if you're running around focused on what's bothering you, focused on all the stuff that you think is going to happen, focused on fear and anxiety and depression and anger and confusion and all those things that we could be thinking about on any given day in the midst of a crisis. They're there. Notice the negative if you want. Then turn your mind to something positive, as I've made the suggestions about. And I promise you, you will have a better day, and you will also have a better life, because you are acquiring and getting better at an incredibly important life skill, minding your mind. God bless you. Be grateful.